Hi, this is Jason McCarthy at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, celebrating an EFL week of action, shining a light on the brilliant work that the foundation does at the club and other clubs as well, but mostly, more specifically, this particular club. We'll catch up with Phil in just a few moments' time. You might have heard yesterday we were down at Millbrook School enjoying the fantastic work that the foundation put on there with a skateboarding initiative for refugees. And David Wheeler has been involved in Chairboys Chat. We'll hear from him as well. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth in this hour. We'll speak to Sonny Moore, who you might or might not know is a coach of Wycombe Wanderers Women's under-18s as well. We'll chat to Luke from the foundation talking about the Warm Hub, which continues this evening as well down at Adams Park. And not only that, thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we'll hear from former striker Craig Mackail-Smith, who recently announced his retirement from football, I think a fortnight ago. So we'll catch up with him and find out how he is enjoying his retirement. But first, also, of course, we'll look ahead to the trip to Bristol Rovers on Saturday. But first, we'll look back to the 1-0 defeat at home in front of a bumper crowd at Adams Park against Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. Jasper Pattenden accompanied Phil, who brought you some highlights.
Good afternoon and welcome to Adams Park. It's a wet and rainy Adams Park, but the atmosphere is electric here with Sheffield Wednesday coming to town in League One. Jacobson goes long towards Tapazzoli, heads it into the 6-yard area, heading clear. But still not cleared properly, and it drops on the volley. It's beaten away, Wing with the shot. Tapazzoli squares it across, and it's cleared again. Wycombe coming the closest to opening the scoring, and 2 minutes on the clock. Good save by Dawson. A beaten out, just taps down the wet turf in that corner. Mehmeti sticks around for the short option, but now it's going to be whipped in by a beater. Good delivery to the back post. Tapazzoli heads onto the roof of the net. Windass down the line. Finds James puts the ball into the central area. Patser comes to get it, feeds it now to Volks. Shot comes in. Oh, what a goal! What a strike by Will Volks into the roof of the net. Hits it really, really well. Strick looked like he was going to get there, but Sheffield Wednesday have opened the scoring in the 12th minute through Will Volks, the midfielder. Wycombe Wanderers 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1 against the run of play. Ball cleared down the line by Famewo. Smith and Tapazzoli having a right old battle here, and Tapazzoli's won that one. Oh, that's a good ball into McCleary as well. And now Mehmeti. Mehmeti, brilliant tackle by Byers, and it needed to be because Mehmeti, who was opening up for him there. Here's Grimmer. First time ball to Wheeler's defended, but they get the second one to win. And now Mehmeti, edge of the area. Mehmeti's shot charged down by the backside of Iorfa. He'll fill that one at half time. Jacobson with the free kick. It's on the halfway line, just outside the centre circle. He goes towards Vokes. Vokes is causing a problem on the edge of the area. Grimmer gets the ball, goes for goal! Always rising, goes over the bar, sat up nicely for Jack Grimmer.
Yeah, struck it really well, struck through the ball, and you thought just for a minute, as soon as it left his foot, maybe, just maybe, but yeah, those ones are always going to rise, and eventually it did rise up and over the crossbar.
Well, he doesn't score tap-ins, Jack Grimmer.
No.
And the whistle goes, and it's the away fans that are cheering tonight. Wycombe Wanderers falling behind in the 12th minute, were unable to get their way back into the game. Lots of possession, especially in the second half, but Sheffield Wednesday have defended brilliantly up to this point.
Yeah, look, they took the lead early on. It was a fantastic goal from Will Volks. And look, we had chances, we knocked on the door, we definitely created opportunities, but it just felt like in the final third, that last bit of quality just wasn't there today for us. With the amount of ball we had and the amount of ball we had in the attacking third for us, would have hoped we could have created a bit more. But credit where it's due to Sheffield Wednesday. They defended fantastically well towards the end, and they saw the game out really nicely and killed any sort of threat and momentum that we were looking to build in the closing stages. A disappointing result. Felt like we deserved the point from the game, but Sheffield Wednesday walk away with all three.
But we'll leave you with the full-time score here at Adams Park. Wycombe Wanderers 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1.
Wycombe Wanderers, Jasper Pattenden summarising, and of course the Wycombe Wanderers head of audio and broadcast, host of Ringing the Blues, and your match commentator for a Saturday on Wanderers TV and here on Wycombe Sound on 106.6. Phil Catchpole, who I'm very pleased to say we can speak to now, and this evening is out on location. Tell us where you are, sir.
I am at Cressex AstroTurf for the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation walking football. It happens every week, and I've been watching this, and Super Max Striek and Curtis Thompson are taking part tonight with these guys who are all over 50, and this has been excellent to watch. The game is still going on. To say it's competitive would be an understatement.
I imagine walking's harder than it looks as well, or harder than it sounds.
I have to say, I can't really describe this and do it justice. Max Striek travelling around the pitch, desperately trying not to run, is one of the best things I've ever seen. It's wonderful.
I must really thank you for sending me a clip as well. I shall watch it often.
Curtis Thompson he's trying his very hardest not to run as well, but Kurt's played some lovely little slide rule passes tonight. Thankfully, no 50-50s with an over 50. Otherwise, I'm not sure they'd be walking again.
No, sounds like a strange maths equation as well, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Yeah, we mentioned obviously with Jasper and yourself describing the action on Saturday. Not the right result, but a great display as well.
Yeah, very gritty display from Sheffield Wednesday. I thought it had all the hallmarks of a Wycombe Wanderers performance. They got a goal, a really fantastic goal as well, worthy of winning any game. And once they had the lead, they really dug in, and they reminded me of Wycombe Wanderers, a bit like they did when they beat Newcastle live on the TV in the FA Cup as well. And I didn't recognise that quality in them last season. Perhaps if they'd shown that last season, they might be in the Championship now. I think under Darren Moore, they've learned to be gritty and grind out results, and that's what they did against Wycombe Wanderers. No complaints about the result whatsoever. Wycombe just weren't good enough in the final third. They played some good possession football, but often it's the case when Wycombe have high possession, they tend not to win the games. They came out on the wrong end of it on that one, but it was really refreshing to hear Gareth Ainsworth after the game when I spoke to him in the tunnel after the match, speaking really nicely about Sheffield Wednesday too.
I think we've just played the champions there. Honestly, I think they're a very strong side with players missing from their squad. You know, your Bannons, your Hennigans. You know, I mean, they're a good side. And that shows what a good performance it was from us. You know, honestly, we put so much pressure on them, especially second half. I'm hoping they give us credit and say that was the toughest game for a while, because we really, really did put it on them. And they're tougher than they were last year. They're more solid. They've got this way of winning. They've got some good players in their side. But it's an absolute worldy goal that separated the two teams today. I think a point would have been fair for us. I don't think anyone would have complained. But that goal, yeah, it's good enough to win any game, you know, and it was a brilliant goal from Volks, you know, a great strike, and it goes in the top corner. Both teams had chances. I think they've had another couple of good chances, but Max Striek's made some great saves. But, you know, I think we've outpossessed them, outpassed them. It just wasn't going to happen for us today, you know. It was one of those days. I think there was a couple of players just not reaching their top performance as well, but you've got to give credit to Sheffield Wednesday for that. They've done their homework, they've stopped us playing. But I'm proud. I'm buoyed by that performance. I don't think we're far off at all being a contender for these playoffs. And I do think that Sheffield Wednesday will get promoted as champions. I think they're a really, really good side.
Defensively, I thought they were superb as well, and Anis Vermette had a couple of shots blocked, and Keeper didn't have many saves to make, but defensively they shut Wycombe down very early on.
They did, you know, and obviously, you know, you come to Wycombe, you know you're going in for a tough ride, and some of their players have come off saying you are the toughest team we've played, and that's compliments, big compliments for me. I'm sure Darren will do his justice as well. He's a great guy, a good manager, and their fans were outstanding, but the Wycombe fans were good as well. You know, it was good to see a great crowd here today. Yeah, just came up short. A goal would have been fantastic for our fans to celebrate and our boys to celebrate. And you know, we didn't really trouble their keeper as much as I wanted to. We got to that final third so many times, and just in previous games it's looked brilliant and we've carved teams apart. But today we just didn't get that final shot off and that final moment. But that happens in football sometimes, and you've got to take it. And then you've got to applaud Volks' goal. You know, two boys got stretched off for Sheffield. I hope they're okay. You know, you don't want to see that. And it was a real men's game today. Two teams, real men going at it. Nothing in the game that there was no maliciousness. There was nothing, no needle. it's just a real good battle. I hope that everyone enjoyed a good League One fixture today. We take it on the chin and we go again next week away at Bristol Rovers, but really proud of the boys. Great, we're putting Jack Wakely on at the end there, his league debut, brilliant for him. This place is definitely progressing, but at the end of the day, we're Wycombe Wanderers. We know what we are. Hosting Sheffield Wednesday, I think in days gone by, was a real worry, a real sort of panic, thinking how many is this going to be, today. I think that we can be proud now saying that Wycombe can compete with any team in this division at home. That's narrow 1-0 defeats by both Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, and a reverse of that result against Ipswich. So the top three, I think we've done really well against. Yeah, we've only got 3 points, but I think that if people come and watch the game and watch how this team has progressed over the years, with the Courigs in charge, we've got great safety here, and the club's going in the right direction. Just wanted the point today, at least. A point would have been good. Fair play to Sheffield Wednesday. They've got all three. They're a huge side. I'm sure they'll go on to be promoted. We want to be in the mix in this league, and the playoffs is my total aim. This season, I think we've got a heck of a chance to make that. And boys keep believing, fans keep believing, because I certainly do.
And great to hear him say he was buoyed by the performance as well, because often you hear, especially on a defeat, managers, not too pleased with the way their team has played. But he was encouraged, but I guess a little frustrated as well.
Yeah, he'll be encouraged by some of the passing and possession football they played. I thought defensively we looked pretty good as well. It's just that final third, Colin, against Sheffield Wednesday. Cameron Dawson didn't have a huge amount to do in goal, but you have to credit the back three of Sheffield Wednesday. They didn't have Mark McGuinness. They lost him as he was recalled on loan back to Cardiff City, his parent club. But they stepped up. Famewo came in. I thought Iorfa was a real colossus at the back as well. And that's what got them the 3 points. And I think coming into the season, it could be a big 3 points for them.
And also coming up this Saturday, again, opposition who only played on Boxing Day. There were only three games for the Chen boys in between those two fixtures, but might not necessarily be a similar contest between the two.
Well, again, with the window open, they've lost a defender who's gone back on loan. There's rumours they may be getting a new goalkeeper, and no doubt they might be trying to get some business done as well. It may be one of those sneaky ones where they get the deals done and then announce them at 2 o'clock on a Saturday to try and keep everybody guessing, because the huge amount of work that the Wycombe Wanderers analyst does, Josh Hart, to help Gareth Ainsworth and the coaching staff with the information, is a mammoth task. And it's quite a tricky one for him this time of year, because obviously things can change. But we shall see. But yeah, three games ago, we beat Bristol Rovers, and it was a decent victory for Wycombe Wanderers. And Joe Barton took it very well, of course, didn't he? So will he be forced to eat his words on Saturday, or will he be triumphant? I think he's only beaten Wycombe Wanderers once in 6 or 7 attempts.
And something else which is really nice, obviously, to come out of the build-up is he and his team have all shaved their heads in support of one of their own, of course, who's found themselves in a difficult situation as well.
I mean, that is just tremendous from the whole club. I think excellent, because you think of footballers as being super beings, being super fit and untouchable almost, and it just shows you that cancer does not discriminate. But the reaction of his teammates and the club and the fans, everybody, it's been phenomenal, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare to commentate on as well. But what a cause, and I hope it raises a lot of money for the player and his family, and we wish them all the very best.
Well, wish you. Hope you enjoy that game, and also, of course, we saw you last night down at Millbrook School. A brilliant example of what the club does in the community, and again, something that you're at this evening as well. Yeah,
it's the EFL week of action, but I think it's worth pointing out that all of these brilliant sessions that go on right across the community, all the varied activities, this is happening all year round. It's a week of action by the EFL to help highlight this, and it's great that the players can come along and get involved and see what this part of the club does. But this is going on week in, week out, and it's great to shine a spotlight on some of this as well, and maybe encourage some more people to come and get involved. I mean, the pitch is really busy tonight for walking football, and I'll tell you what, it's very competitive.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your evening.
Watching Max Triek try not to run is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, I think.
Great to hear from Phil. He'll be bringing you the action on Saturday, of course, on 106.6 FM and on Wanderers TV, where you can hear the full version of that interview with Gareth and many others as well.
Online, on Radio Player and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come before the end of the Wycombe Wanderers show, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth, we'll hear from Sam Vokes, who's been on a skateboard as well, all for a good cause, and we'll catch up with David Wheeler, who's been taking part in Chairboys Chat as well, and we'll catch up with Sonny Moore, who's a coach for Wycombe Wanderers Women Under-18s. But first, in our usual ex-player slot, thanks to Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we've been speaking to someone who only a couple of weeks ago has announced his retirement from football. I'm sure you remember not too long ago when he was at Adams Park, causing defences all sorts of problems. Craig Mackail-Smith, who we've been speaking to and who's been telling us a bit about how he's getting used to his retirement from football.
It's an interesting feeling, obviously, to not have it in my life anymore. Is in the sense of playing and stuff is strange. I've been in kind of a semi-professional, professional world for 22 years, so it is a strange feeling. As I said, like the days I train and the games where I prepare, they're not there now, so it's a different feeling. But it's nice. It's been a long time. I think it was probably the right time. It's the beginning of the year, and I'd like to look at other things and start kind of another journey in my life.
Do you think it's something that will be quite easy to adapt to, or it'll take some adjusting to as well?
I think it might take a bit of adjusting to. Obviously, I still kind of last Saturday I was watching the football and the results come in and just kind of watching the games. And so I think it will take me a little bit of time to slowly get it out of my system. I probably won't miss pre-season because it was always a tough part of being a footballer. So I'll be enjoying sitting down, knowing I don't have to take part in that. But I think it slowly it will kind of once I kind of really get my teeth into something else, I think it will kind of it will fade it like into the background slightly.
Because there must be so many elements that you'll miss, the camaraderie in the dressing room and obviously the playing and the preparing for games as well.
Yeah, I think like the buzz around the games and the atmospheres and the kind of the emotions you get and of scoring goals and winning games, that would be really hard to replicate. And as you said, like dressing room, being in the dressing room with camaraderie, being around kind of 22 players, like friends every day, I think that's probably the biggest thing I miss is having someone there to always chat to always kind of talk about like issues that you have, and obviously you're all working collectively to kind of achieve something. So I think those will be the big things I miss ultimately. But hopefully in the future, whatever I go into, whether it's I create it or it's created for me, is to go into an atmosphere like that in the business world.
And it's nice to have that opportunity, isn't it, to reflect on the career that you've had and the different clubs that you played for and what you've achieved? Yeah,
definitely. It's you never really get that opportunity when you're playing so much. It's always so fast, and you're on to the next training session, and you're on to the next game, and they tick along, and you kind of forget the games that have gone previous, and maybe the good things you've done, and the goals you've scored and stuff. So for me now, it's a little bit of a chance to kind of go back over my whole career really, and go through like game by game and just have a reminisce of those games, because there are obviously standout moments within the career, but there are obviously games and maybe goals that I've neglected to think about through that time. So yeah, it's going to be a nice journey, and it'd be good to kind of relive that with my kids as well.
No, definitely. So what were your sort of earliest memories of your time at Wycombe?
So obviously I came in under Gareth. Well, Gareth's still there, and he's always been there, but he brought me in with a great bunch of lads. I knew when I came in it was a very experienced squad. We had Adam Alab, Sam Saunders, Bayo, Marcus Bean, Nathan Tyson, Scott Brown. It was a fantastically experienced squad, and I think a squad that I felt that we kind of been written off, and I felt like we were all coming together to prove everyone wrong. And obviously we had some good young talent in Luca Nine and Dominic Gabe and stuff there, Scotty Cashkett. So I think it was a great blend of players to come together, and I think that everyone gelled really, really well. And obviously for them that first season we got promoted, and I think that was a big part of the players that were in the dressing room.
And you must have found quite early on it was a real team that really suited your style of play as well.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, I played under a similar manager, John Steele, for Dagenham, who was he wanted to get the ball down and he wanted to get it forward quick and keep the game high up the pitch. And under Gareth, it was very, very similar. We played a free, like Bayo played down the middle, and it was me and Nathan Tyson, and then we had like Paris Cowan Hall play out on one side as well. So it was nice. It was as I say, it was kind of get the ball into Bayo, play off of him, play off his flicks, and hopefully kind of keep the ball up that end.
And we were speaking to Phil the other week when you announced your retirement, and he was really sort of paying tribute to some great performances that he saw of yours, and described you as sort of a typical Gareth player who worked really hard and always gave your all for the team, which is something that the fans obviously really appreciate too.
Yeah, no. Throughout my time as a player, I've tried to give everything I've got for whatever club I've played for, and every game I've played, I've always kind of had that mentality that I wanted to leave everything on the pitch. So when my career did end, I could look back and know that I used every ounce of talent I had, every game, every training session, and obviously, as I say, playing for Gareth, who was a similar player to me, it was nice because he understood what I needed to get out of the game and what I brought to the team. And
being part of a side that won automatic promotion, obviously from League Two, it must have been a fantastic sort of sense of achievement as well.
Yeah, definitely. As I say, I think I came in and maybe we'd been written off. I think people probably looked at that squad and looked at the age of the squad, and obviously probably looked at it and thought maybe they're not going to do anything. And I think that's what probably gave us a massive drive throughout the season, because we were underdogs. People had written us off before the season even started, and I think we all knew that we still had life in us, and we wanted to prove to people that we still had that ability to play, to achieve promotions, and obviously to finish the season off kind of getting into the automatic places and getting promoted was an amazing achievement.
And are there particular goals or games which really stand out for you? Obviously, there was that hat-trick you got against Crawley, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, like the hat-trick Crawley. I think I got a lot last-minute goal against Crewe away. But to be honest, my most standout moment was the win against, I think it was Carlisle at home, and Beanie scored the winner in right at the end of the game, and that was like my most standout moment that season, because it just showed what our team was about. I think we went down to 10 men. I think we were losing 3-2, and we came back and won 4-3 in the last kind of 4 or 5 minutes, and I think that epitomised what the team was about. That epitomised the team spirit. And I think when that game happened, I think there was a real belief that we were going to get promoted.
Because you often hear, don't you say the underdog tag seems to really suit Wycombe, but speaking to someone who's obviously been involved in that yourself, that's something which you can really sort of testify to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's that being written off. I think the players there, they thrive off that, and it brings them closer together, and it creates a mentality of we're going to prove you wrong. So I think that the underdog tag for Wycombe has been fantastic, because it's allowed them to create a drive, a philosophy within the team that has allowed them to achieve the fantastic results that they've got.
And I suppose you can't overemphasise how important Gareth's influence has been, and playing for him must have been great as well. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's a fantastic man manager. He's massively enthusiastic, as you see on the sideline. He's a unique character in the game, and he's a great person to play for. He gives you great confidence. He pats you on the back when you've done well. He gives you a little G up when you need to do better. In my time, he brought a fantastic dressing room together, and he was very clever in the fact that he picked one or two experienced people and a young player, and he kind of made them, like, in a sense, generals of the dressing room, and he'd kind of give them information that he'd want passed into the dressing room, and then that was how the dressing room was run. And then he would just stand back and let the older lads kind of dictate how the dressing room would go, and the older lads set a standard that no one could drop below. And I think they've kept that kind of mentality ongoing, because they've done fantastically well. And overall, how do you look back at your time at the club? Oh, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. As I said, I come away from, I think it was Luton, and it didn't go too well there. And obviously, as I said, I joined a group of players, a lot older players who wanted to prove something. And just like myself, I wanted to prove that I still had the capabilities of playing at that level and winning promotions and scoring goals. And it was just an unbelievable dressing room to be part of. And you don't really get many dressing rooms like that throughout your career. And I was very lucky to have been part of that. And as we touched on, it must be so nice for you to, now that you've retired, to be able to reflect on, the career that you've had, the likes of Peterborough and Brighton, and playing for Scotland, of course, as well. Yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been nice just to sit and say to look back. It's been wonderful and amazing for all the messages I've received from kind of players and clubs and stuff and supporters. It's been a wonderful journey. I'd never
had expected to have been a 16-year-old at St Albans, to have been in the game for 22 years and achieved the things I've achieved. So I've been very, very lucky and really appreciative of what I've done, and then hopefully I can kind of take that experience on and help players that are trying to come into the game or come through the game in the future.
And more recently, I understand you've had some other issues to deal with in the form of a flood.
Yes, my house got flooded. This was a couple of years ago now, and we're still having a few ongoing issues. So there was a lot of issues I had to deal with, but then again, I look at it that it's made me mentally stronger, and these are the things I've had to deal with, and it gives me a bit more insight of how my brain's worked to deal with situations, and I'd say hopefully that I can kind of use them to help other people navigate and overcome obstacles in their life.
That's really nice, isn't it, that you can share your experience and other young players coming up who might be witnessing things for the first time and not quite sure how to deal with them in the more modern game. Yeah,
definitely. I've been through a lot through my career. I've come into the game late. I've had to come through non-league. I've had highs and lows. I've had major injuries, promotions, relegations, and obviously stuff with outside of football happening. So I take all of those on board and try and use them as positives. And as you said, like to pass that knowledge on, hopefully to younger players coming through the game and maybe players that are in the game and are kind of looking for answers. It's nice to have some of those experiences to draw on to help guide people.
And really pleasing for you now to be able to spend more time with your young family as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. It was nice kind of going into non-league because my kids, they could come to the games. My little boy, who's football mad, Jude, he could come on the pitch with a warm-up before the game, and he'd come up and warm up with me at half-time. So it gave him a great exposure to the football, and now I'm out of it. I can spend more time with him practicing and spend time with my other children, kind of doing their clubs and having the weekends back to ourselves.
And people might not know that your father-in-law is quite a well-known name in football as well.
Yeah, Barry Fry. If you don't know, yeah, he's wonderful. He's been a great person to lean on throughout my time in football. He's obviously got fantastic knowledge, and it's been wonderful to kind of talk to him and look at different things during my career. And obviously coming to the end of my career, it's now nice to have him to talk to see how he can kind of help me navigate the next stage of my life.
Is it true he delivered your first child?
We both did. Yeah. It wasn't intended. It was. We didn't get to the hospital in time. We were at home, and Isla, my first, she came very, very quick. So me and Barry delivered my first child with no midwife at home. So yeah, so I've got that skill in the locker if it's ever needed. So if it's a new career to come from that, it'd be interesting. It
seems like some sort of strange tabloid headline, doesn't it? Barry Fry delivered my first child.
Yeah. It's like the in the newspaper, isn't it? It was an amazing moment to be able to do that. It's something I didn't expect, and it's not something I would put myself through again in that sense with having no midwife. But like lucky enough, everything was wonderful, and we got through that without any issues, which was the most important thing. And yeah, we've had I've got 3 children, and we've had the other 2 at home as well with my supervision. So they're all home birth babies.
What a Swiss Army knife of life skills you have.
Yeah. It's been a wonderful journey in and out of football. And as I said to you earlier, it's like just learning from these lessons and being able to give that information and help people now is kind of important.
And are you really looking forward to what's to come now?
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited. As I said, I had a wonderful time, 22 years in football, and it's been an amazing journey. And I think now it's pushing me out of my comfort zone now, because I've known that for so long. It's quite easy to kind of just keep ticking along season after season. But now I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to have to learn new things and meet new people and be in new situations. So it is nerve-wracking, and there is apprehension, but there's also excitement on the other side as well with how much I'll grow and what I can learn and what I can become from it.
Well, hopefully we'll see you at Adams Park, perhaps watching a game soon.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back. It's been I keep an eye on the team, and I've seen that they're doing fantastically well this season as well. So they're obviously pushing to to be in with a chance to get in the playoffs. So hopefully I can get down and see them on winning ways.
Real pleasure to hear from Craig, and you never know, he might be summarising with Phil on a match commentary very, very soon. Should probably point out as well, something which we referred to earlier with Phil, and you may not have heard, that Bristol Rovers defender Nick Anderton last summer was diagnosed with osteosarcoma and has been receiving chemotherapy for that. And many of his teammates and manager Joe Barton at Bristol Rovers have this week had their heads shaved in tribute and support to Nick as well. So we obviously wish Nick Anderton all the best with his recovery. It's something which we hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth about as well. Also something that was mentioned in our chat a little earlier on with David Wheeler, who started the week on Monday night taking part in Chair Boys Chat, another brilliant initiative by the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, and something which he was pleased to take part in as well.
Yeah, no, it was very rewarding for me, and hopefully it helped. Even just one person is a positive. I think we shared some ideas and we shared some stories, and yeah, it's just, I think, really important to be open about mental health, especially if you're a man of a certain age. I think it can be quite difficult, but it's really important to do that, and I think really positive, and especially this time of year as well, it can be quite hard on your mental health. So yeah, I come away from it very positive, and I hope everyone that was there did as well.
Because I think as well, people can often forget, can't they, that footballers are human as well, and then they kind of share probably the same issues that supporters are going through too.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes this air of invincibility or assumption that footballers are indestructible sort of thing. But exactly right. I mean, we had people from every walk of life and every sort of profession really on the chat, and everyone had experienced something in some fashion to some degree. So yeah, it's definitely the case, and that's sort of a big thing to make clear, is that literally anyone and probably most people are going through some degree of mental health distress at some stage.
And a really great example of how important football clubs are in the community, and there seems to be more and more of those of late, especially the team you're coming up against on Saturday, Bristol Rovers, the action they've taken to show support to their teammate as well. Yeah, that was really, really heartening to see, and definitely another cause that's dear to me, and obviously we'll keep everything crossed for him that he gets through his fight against cancer, because it's a horrific disease, and then we're just we'll keep everything crossed for sure, and it's great to see that solidarity. And something else which you're really passionate about, obviously the environment, and great to see that that green football weekend, which has been allocated for a couple of weekends' time as well. Yeah, no, this is like a really, really good positive thing to see football and the football community as a whole taking climate action. I think it's something that I've been calling for and hoping for a while, and it's nice to see organisations like Planet League, for example, Pledge Ball, really engaging people, engaging fans, and I'd encourage as many people as possible to get involved, because the activities are a lot of them are very doable. A lot of them are actually not only good for the environment, but will probably save money on the energy bills as well, which is another thing that's really really current at the minute. Well, it's true of any time, but especially now when the energy bills are so high. Does it feel like now more than ever it's a time when footballers can be so influential in all sorts of issues really, and sort of society generally does sort of need that support? 100%, yeah. I mean, the obvious example is off the back of Marcus Rashford, but there's been others that have come out and talked publicly on certain issues, current and previous footballers. So yeah, I think football is probably the most watched, the most supported sport in the world, and so therefore footballers are probably have the most influence of all athletes, to come out and say things and influence things in a positive way. And as I say, it feels like now more than ever that the football is such a pivotal part of the community and has such a great role to play, especially with youngsters and other generations going forward. Yeah, definitely. I've always thought and been someone that subscribes to the idea that athletes, footballers are role models. You don't necessarily realise that when you first get into it. You don't necessarily seek that or want to have that. Like some players don't necessarily want to be in that position of responsibility, but I think you are, and you have to take that on, and you have to try and do your best with that position of responsibility, because
like it or not, there are, lots and lots and lots of kids that do look up to you, and it's good for them to see a positive example.
And obviously had a big crowd on Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, and that must feel, really give you a great sense of opportunity that you can have that impact on that many people, and especially, with the team, it feels like, second half of the season, things are sort of coming together. There's a real kind of wave of support, and you can really take a lot of people along with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the more successful we are on the pitch and the more successful a player is on the pitch, then the more influence they can have. So, yeah, success certainly is very helpful when trying to put out like messages that you want to put out.
And does it feel like that within the dressing room at the moment? As you say, the second half of the season, it really feels like, an extra gear has kind of gone up, and it's really sort of moving up the table and challenging for those playoff places.
Yeah, I think certainly recently in the last 8 to 10 games or so, I think our form's really picked up. We've really kicked on. And I think, to be honest, that's part and parcel of just the situation with injuries. You've got a lot of people back fit now that were injured at the start of the season. The team was changing a lot at the start of the season, where it's, relatively stable now. And we're really showing now the strength of the squad that we have, whereas we didn't really have that luxury early on. So I think it just shows that a lot of the time success in football does come down to luck, because I think the differences between a lot of teams in this league are not very big. So if you can keep your squad fit and strong and healthy, like for the majority of the season, that is really going to make a hell of a difference.
And just finally, what will be the main message you'd like to get across to supporters about, not only green football, but also, the sort of issues that affect them, and how footballers can play their part as well locally?
I think just to use your football club, because I think oftentimes, especially in the current political climate, it can be quite fractured. It can be quite adversarial. I think it's like to use the football club as a sort of a neutral ground within the community, where people can come together of all different backgrounds, but also political ideologies, and do positive things together in the community and make their community better, and therefore make things better for themselves.
Great to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best for Saturday.
You're welcome.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers show, some news from the club, and more specifically from the EFL, with the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III taking place on Saturday the 6th of May. The EFL has confirmed its schedule for the final round of divisional fixtures for this season, which includes Wanderers League 1 fixture at Portsmouth, and Sky Bet League 1 matches will be played on Sunday the 7th of May, kick-off at midday. So that's the final game of the season for Wycombe, well, the regular season anyway. We'll be hearing from the manager very soon as well, plus we'll be catching up with Sonny Moore from Wycombe Wanderers Women. But first, we caught up with Luke on yesterday's mid-morning, who's head of inclusion and cohesion at the Wycombe Wanderers Foundation, to find out a bit more about the Warm Hub, which was launched last week and is continuing this evening at Adams Park as well.
The discussions we had around October were really centred around the cost of living and what could we do and what parts of the community would really benefit from something like this. And then just from the sessions themselves happening and us being there, you can see firsthand that the guests themselves are having a great time. And, the cost of living, the electricity, the rising costs is great to be able to help with that. But the thing that I've and some of my colleagues have really got from it is some of the feedback is that a lot of the people there are just saying it's so nice to come out, meet new people and just swap stories and, just chat to people they've never met before. Or last week we had some guests that had met some of the guests that were there 30 years ago, hadn't seen them since, and then just by chance, they're in the same place again. And so it was really warming to see, again, excuse the pun, but really warming to see them enjoying each other's company and swapping stories. And yeah, it's just been fantastic for so many different reasons.
And a brilliant atmosphere as well, I imagine. We're looking forward to sampling it ourselves by coming down. But I imagine, especially on a cold night, just to come into the football club, and obviously Monty's is a really nice environment as well.
Yeah, exactly that. And just to add to it, we've got the fireplaces up on the screens. It's just a nice, warm, friendly atmosphere. It's very informal. There's no pressure on anyone to be involved in any of the games or anything like that. So it's just really easy. And I think just because it's the positive backdrop to it and the reasons it exists, it just exudes positivity, and it is just warm and it's just very welcoming. And I not to toot my own horn, it's been a very, very collaborative effort, but it's certainly something that I step back from and think, wow, this is really good. And, I'm glad it's going so well.
And we spoke to Trevor Trout from the Trust as well, who said that the food is excellent also.
Yes, it must be. Yes, absolutely. A shout out to Will, the chef, for sure. His meals have been brilliant. There are no complaints at all. And I'm not just saying that. Every time it's compliments to the chef from all the guests. And I must say, I don't necessarily give him the most notice in terms of numbers and what's required. And he adapts to it. He's adapted to all of the evenings really well. So, yeah, massive thanks to Will as well.
And as you say, that the feedback you get from people who do attend must be so rewarding for you and the team who put the evenings on.
Yeah, that's it. And, ultimately, we're not in it for the praise, we're in it for the impact. And to then hear the feedback of the impact it's having is fantastic. And people coming back to us saying it's been great just to sit and talk to people, meet new people. I think it's easy to forget that some people are probably still feeling the effects of the lockdown and the lack of social time with others. And so couple that with other, problems going on in the world and the cost of living, etc., to be able to have that meeting space and have them together is brilliant. And yeah, the feedback across the board has been great. And that's been from, whether that's the guests themselves, so we've had ex-players, Keith Vince down, as you said, Joe Jacobson came down, Jasper Pattington's been there. They've all had such great things to say about it. And it's just been great all round. You
can find out more about the Warm Hub by listening to yesterday's Mid-Morning, which you can catch on the Listen Again feature on the website, wycombesound.org.uk, and hear more from Luke. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays between 5 and 8. If you're over 65, you can go along with a guest who doesn't have to be over 65, and you get a warm meal and see some ex-players, maybe even some current players as well. And we're planning to do the show from there one of these upcoming weeks as well, so do listen out for that. Luke was also at Millbrook School last night, leading a brilliant project for refugees, both boys and girls were in attendance, doing a bit of skateboarding, and a couple of the players went along as well, including Tyler Dickinson. We also caught up with Sam Vokes as well, who is also pleased to be involved.
I have been introduced to a skateboard. I'll be honest, it's the first time I've stood on one tonight, so I've achieved something here tonight I'm quite proud of, yeah.
Really nice that you could come along and support these initiatives, but also, get involved yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's great. We turned up and the kids were having great fun. You can see smiles on their faces and really enjoying it. And then, we fully got involved, standing on it, taking apart skateboards, putting them back together. And I put it back together well because I managed to stand on the same one. So, when I say I stood on it, I didn't quite leave holding the wall, but I managed to go up and down the hall and didn't fall off. So I'm quite happy with that.
And what does it mean to you as a footballer to be able to support events like this?
It's great. And I think the work the foundation do, I was just talking to the lads there, and it's great within the community because I think the kids here they've had a tough start to life, and like I said, as soon as I walk through the front door, you can see the smiles on their faces, and you're getting involved in the community, and there is real community spirit here, and it's it's great, and it's good that they can come down and enjoy themselves on a Wednesday evening. And really special that the club can put on events like this and play such a key part to those who've had such a difficult time. No, definitely, and I think in my time joining Wycombe, that's something I've noticed. It's a real community spirit around the club from the first team all the way down to everyone involved. Some people that come and watch on a Saturday, everyone feels part of it, and coming to events like this, you do feel that as well, and you feel the community's at the heart of it, and it's great to see, and hopefully integrates, and we can get some of these kids off the skateboards and come down to watch us as well on a Saturday, and then get a few more fans. I was going to say, a really nice way to attract new supporters and get people behind the team more. It is, and look, you show how diverse the football club is. It's not just football sessions they're putting on. The skateboarding here for the guys tonight is something else to bring the community together. And like I say, the children are having great fun, and you see the parents as well. And it's great that they can all get together from different backgrounds, really, and create that community spirit. And a great example of how central the club is to the community, and things like the Warm Hub that they've been putting on as well. No, it's great, and the lads have been going out to a lot of things this week, and I'm seeing great feedback from the guys when they're going out and seeing everyone in the local community, and it's great that we can be part of that as well, because I live locally and I play for the football club, and it's great that I can get out and see everyone in these sort of events as well. And something quite nice as well for people who have perhaps been to the game against Sheffield Wednesday, for example, and seen you guys sort of close up as well. Yeah, hopefully, and that's what it's all about. Community, we're no different because we play in the first team. We want to come and get involved and be part of that community as well. And I think you really get that feeling on a match day as well that we are one club all together. And it feels like a special sort of second half of the season now that you've just really sort of kicking on that extra bit. Yeah, exactly. We've had a great run. We were disappointed with the result against Sheffield Wednesday Saturday, but on reviewing it, we were happy with the performance. We just missed that cutting edge, I suppose. And we've got a good run of games now, starting at Bristol Rovers on Saturday, that we can go and pick some points up and hopefully push for those playoffs. And obviously Rovers, a team you faced recently as well. It is, yes. We know all about them and they know all about us, and so we can match that result we had recently. That would be nice.
And a big derby Tuesday night as well to look forward to.
Yes, of course. Always a great fixture to be involved in. One the boys are looking forward to, I know, and it'd be great to get a good result at Bristol and come back for that game at Adams Park on Tuesday.
So just finally, what would be your main message to supporters about the work that the club's doing?
It's great. Look, we're all out here. We enjoy doing it and being in the community. And since I've joined the club, I love coming along to these events. And like I say, you really feel that community spirit in the club, and we're all in it together. Great
to have a chat to Sam Vokes. Also, we spoke to Tyler Dickinson and also Luke as well, who you heard from a bit earlier on. You can hear more on that on yesterday's Drive Time. Again, available on the Listen Again feature on the website, wycombsound.org.uk. Regularly on the Wycombe Wanderers show, we like to feature Wycombe Wanderers women. I've been speaking to Sonny Moore, who's the coach of the under-18s, and featuring a bit more about what he's been doing with the players, as many of them can progress to the reserves and, of course, into the first team as well.
It's been a very choppy season, obviously, with the weather cancelling a number of games just before Christmas and then having that long period over the Christmas break. So it was wonderful to get back to football, first game against Fulham, and then we had our game against Notts County on the weekend.
Now, I'm sure you don't want to sort of give away too much in case opponents might be listening, but are there any sort of particular areas that you're especially working on with the players, or have been, or need to be kind of going forward?
That's a very good question. I mean, again, we don't hide it, but what we want to try and do is build up play from the back. So again, building up play through the thirds is something that we're really trying to work on in training on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then trying to replicate that on the Saturdays. Because again, with the under-18s, what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop our girls, our players, into more confident players that play without fear. So again, if we're constantly repeating that method of football and not reverting, say, the long ball to kind of get out of trouble, then in the long run, when they progress and go through the ranks up to the reserves and up to the first, they'll be a lot more confident on the ball.
And a similar question, I guess, but are there particular aspects which have particularly impressed you that they are doing well?
Again, something we're really trying to work with them on is composure. And by composure, we mean kind of being calm on the ball. So even though the game is going at a very high pace, it's being able to kind of keep your brain and thinking process on a really level ground. And they're starting to show that. So that's something that we're really loving. So not necessarily the win as in the score at the end of the game, but it's more the kind of they're doing what we're asking them to do, and they're actually progressing on that front. So that's brilliant. That's something we're really proud of right now.
And I know we've spoken to coaches and players obviously before as well, but it feels something really positive for everyone concerned, both players and coaches, about the kind of pathway structure that you've got where players can progress from the under-18s to the reserves to the first team.
It is. I think it's a wonderful thing. You know what, Colin, it hasn't been easy. So again, when I joined in June pre-season, we had near 50, maybe 60 players sign up. We had very different abilities throughout the squad. So again, us as a coaching staff, we spend a lot of time exploring that and trying to work out the best way of structuring all those players based on ability and age and all the rest of it. And obviously with the aim of trying to develop these players to become first team players. So now we've got this wonderful structure of development and elite, and in development we're really working on those technical skills with those players to kind of bring them up so they're knocking on the door of the first team. And again, having that from 18s to the reserves and then into the first, it really creates the right environment for them to develop, and we're not kind of pushing them into the deep end. We've got so many goals and objectives, and again, look at the 18s, look at the reserves and look at the first. And it's not necessarily about the league tables. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create and embed some sort of ethos within the club so we can then build upon it. And that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. I mean, the 18s, we're kind of doing really well in the JPL and the Junior Premier League. For those girls, it's been a real step up, but a great environment. The reserves are flying. And I know when you look at the table, maybe the first aren't where we want them to be. But to be honest, when you see them in training and them coming together, I promise you it won't be long until they'll be flying and really kind of pushing on up that table.
And as a coach as well, you must really spot the potential, especially in the youngsters.
Yeah, for me, my personal objective is all about positive mindset. And I think if you get that right, especially at a young age, especially working with the 18s, then again, you've got this real good base for them to kind of work upon. So if you've got the right mindset, you're playing without fear, especially at that young age. And again, we're talking teenagers here. They think they know it all. They're going through changes, all the rest of it. So it's kind of really working with them, building the trust within that team and kind of giving them that safe environment to kind of really push on, challenge themselves. I think that's what it's all about. You've got to put them in those stressful situations to kind of build upon it. So, yeah, it's really rewarding working with the under-18s.
And does it feel like they're really influenced by, for example, the success of the Lionesses as well? And, that gives them something to really inspire them and push them on?
I think definitely. And I think the exposure to more women's football on TV is only going to be beneficial. We work quite closely with Wycombe Wanderers Foundation because they've got their Girls Development Academy. So working closely with Lewis Bloom, we're actually seeing a number of those girls come into Wycombe Wanderers Women, which is really important because, again, the younger generations, and so further down you go, the interest in them starting football at a younger age is increasing. So their technical ability is going up. So we're seeing this real transformation within the female game at those younger ages. So we're really looking to kind of harness that to kind of then feed through the ranks, through the pathway, and then up through to the first team.
It's great for them, isn't it? And great experience for them going forward as well. For them to hopefully step up and do more for the first team and reserves and get more established.
It is. And again, I think that's a wonderful thing about our training sessions is that we all train together. So it creates that bond. I know you've spoken to some of the players in the reserves and in the first team and speaking to Jamie recently. So a number of our players do step up and play a few minutes in the reserves and in the first as well. So for them, building that experience is key. It's only going to progress them as a player.
Great chat to Sonny. He's a coach of Wycombe Wanderers Women Under-18s who are back in JPL action this Saturday. They're at home, you'll be pleased to know, to Watford Ladies Youth. That's at Burnham at the 1878 Stadium. Kick-off there is at 10:30. Great opportunities as well for you to follow the other teams as well. Also at home on Sunday against Abingdon. That's the reserves, a 2 o'clock kick-off there. And also the first team are in action as well, so make sure you don't miss that. Lots of opportunity for you to cheer on the Chair Girls this coming weekend as well. So lots of opportunity for you to follow their fixtures. Of course, the first team, not too many games left. It's only a short season for them, so we wish them all the best. Returning to the men's action now, though, and our regular chat when Gareth Ainsworth speaks to the media on a Thursday. And as you heard in his post-match interview with Phil a little earlier on, he was buoyed by the performance on Saturday in that 1-0 defeat at home to Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely, Colin. We were well pleased with the performance. Just the goal ratios were the wrong way around for us. Sheffield Wednesday were a super side, and it's a cracking goal that separates the two teams. But they did have another chance that I'm not going to be rose-tinted glasses here. I was disappointed with the second chance they got. That was the one that bugged me more. The first one they can have, about 3 in 100 of them go out and go in, and on that day, that Volks has hit that fantastic shot, and that's fair play to him. Good enough to win any game. There was one chance in the first half I was very disappointed with because we've been absolutely solid lately, and it was sort of open, and I thought, wow, that hasn't happened to us for a while. So that one was the one, and then on the other end, we didn't really create any clear cut. We had a header from Brandon, we had a potential header from David Wheeler, we had shots, hopeful shots and crosses, but nothing really to trouble them. And for all the possession and passes and super play we had, just couldn't put that final touch on it. And I was just doing the review earlier in the week with the boys, and the word that kept coming up was almost, and it's great to say almost a lot of times because you are close and you've got something special, and the build-up play was fabulous, compared to what people think we are. But that almost is the biggest part of it. How many times have you heard managers say the game's won and lost in both boxes? And we became a bit of a cropper of dominating the middle third on Saturday. We really did. We sort of outpassed them, outpossessed them. And it was just the both boxes one, which I've got to get that back in my head, both boxes. Everyone loves to play great football. Everyone loves to see passes and our fans included. But I'd sacrifice all that for winning games, and both boxes are important for me. And as I've said, I'm not going to sit here and say I'd love just brilliant flowing, great possession and lose 1-0. I think some managers actually have said that in the past. They'd love to play great flowing football and lose games. Not me. I want to win games. That's my job. I just want to win games however I can. And that was important to me Saturday. And unfortunately, that goal split the two teams. Fantastic goal. But it really hurt me, that one. I want to get back to winning ways as possible, and that's hopefully Saturday.
Coming up against a side which you say could well be champions, does that really give you a gauge as to where your team are at this stage of the season?
Yeah, definitely. Football-wise, Colin, we matched them, and I think that's great. But goal-wise and chance-wise, we didn't. So we've got to step up on that. And I think we're about eighth top scorers in the league, or ninth top scorers in the league. So we're up there, definitely. And again, we've got to make sure we get in maybe higher than that, fifth or sixth. We've got to score goals. We've got to get. That's what the game's about. I always tell the players, I never ever got you for shooting. That's what the game's about. But let's make these chances. Quality chances. Let's get some goals on the board, and I'm proud of us. Always love my boys, love the club. Just at this point, we never really got that cutting edge on Saturday, and I'll be looking for that this Saturday. And
you're coming up against a team this weekend who, you've only played 3 games since you last met them. Does that really make preparations much easier?
No, not really. There's a few changes in the squad. And I know they've had a couple of players recalled, and I think that they're at home, so they'll be slightly different. Teams always play a little bit different at home with a bit more confidence. And they've got Collins and Coburn up front. We know their threats. Scott Sinclair signed a contract there, so he's happy he's found a home. And so, there's definite threats in there. And there's 1 or 2 players back from injury that weren't there in the first game. So, yeah, it will be slightly different. But they're a good side, very good side, good manager. It'll be a tough game. And I can't wait to get down there and see what little old Wycombe can do again. Rob will tell me off for saying that, actually, sorry. Decent sized Wycombe now. What we can do now at Bristol Rovers.
And obviously the players and the manager will look very different to when you last saw them, but it's so pleasing to see that players and just people obviously can come out in support of their teammate in that way.
Absolutely. I think it's fantastic that they all shave their heads, and we just wish the boy all the best, and some things are huge in life, and once any type of cancer sort of rears its ugly head, then everything else stops. Everything else stops in people's world, and yeah, I think that what Joey and Bristol have done is just sensational. Joey gets a lot of stick from various things, but I think it's a magnificent gesture towards a teammate. Yeah.
And a really great example of how football can really help to highlight issues and more locally as well. You've had David Wheeler doing the Chair Boys chat and players at the Warm Hub as well. And more recently, this week at the Refugee Skate Park and down at the Millbrook School. Really, really fantastic that, players who are so looked up to by, especially, I guess, youngsters, but also other people in the community can play such a role as well.
Absolutely. Really proud of all football, of all footballers. You get 1 or 2 exceptions, but on the whole, footballers get a bad rap because they earn good money for kicking a ball about, a talent that they've all got. But the market forces determine that. Footballers don't determine that. So when they do go out in the community and when they do, put their name to things, I think it's brilliant. It really is. It can be an inspiration. And yeah, I know some of these guys are looked upon as lucky or whatever, but believe me, people like David Wheeler, even Sam Vokes and Gareth McCleary who've been at the top level. The humility in those guys, and as I say, the whole of the Bristol Rovers squad, and people like that, when they do the gestures and the work in the community that they do, it's not because they're told to do it. They want to do it. They want to give back. And I think if you dig deep into footballers, you'll probably find out that a few of them have got their own issues and a little bit defensive as well. They're not these super confident superstars, all of them that can walk around and strut around and drive flashy cars. It's different, Hopefully, these moments will help people understand people more than just the job that identifies everyone. So, no, really proud of the Wycombe boys getting involved in the community this week. And as I say, some things are bigger than football, and this is definitely one of them.
Do you think it's a comparatively new thing? Is it perhaps because there's more of a need in society for support and help? Or, obviously I don't want to use the expression in your day, but in your day, did players sort of do that sort of thing as well? But was it perhaps just not covered as much?
Yeah, do you know, when you say in my day, we're talking 30 years ago, and that's everyone was there, everyone who was alive at that time, and everyone was an adult. We all know what it was like. We all know that thank goodness, time has changed and things have come on in leaps and bounds with mental health and with issues and with diversity and safeguarding. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant to live in the society we live in, to look after people in the right way and be proud of looking after people and being proud of coming out of whatever you might want to come out with, problems, mental health, sexuality, diversity, whatever it is, that you have that support now in this modern world. I think it's brilliant. And yeah, we lived back in that time, and that was that time. And you can't look back and lambast anyone for not being as good as we are now. But thankfully, everything's changed, and we're really getting up to speed, and still can do lots of work. But I'm a big advocate for be you be you, because you is good enough, and I think that the more people that we can tell that to, the better.
Pleasure to speak to you, the manager, as always. Great to have him as a regular guest on the Wycombe Wanderers show. Hope you've enjoyed this week. Obviously, wish the team all the best for Bristol Rovers on Saturday. If you're not going, then you'll be able to hear full live commentary on Wanderers TV and here on Wycombe Sound on 106.6 FM as well. Have a fantastic week. It's been brilliant to showcase the EFL's week of action as well. Great to be down at Millbrook School for the skateboarding and the walking football we heard about with Phil a little earlier on as well. The Chairboys chat that David Wheeler got involved with as well. Loads of other activities that the foundation are putting on, not to mention the Warm Humber as well. Do keep an ear out, because this show will be coming live from one of those events as well. Got the Reardon Room to look forward to as well. Martha O'Neill will be officially opening that at the end of this month. Again, we'll be featuring that on this show as well. Have a fantastic week and enjoy the football.